Hi. Official recaps here. Today I'm going to explain an Italian film called The Invisible Boy. Before getting to the video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like to support the channel. At the start of the film, we observe a little child named Michele Silenzi pedaling to school in Trieste, Italy. He has a €50 note and intends to use it to purchase a costume for a party. He sits behind his longtime crush, Stella, in school. A police officer named Giovanna, who also happens to be Michele's mother, interrupts their class. She has come to ask about the disappearance of a student. Giovanna requests that the class notify the authorities if they receive any information about the missing pupil. Michele's nose begins to bleed after she departs, so he dashes to the bathroom. His bullies, who have been bothering him for a long time, threaten to take all of his money. He returns home, depressed by the incident. He pulls out a few pennies he'd collected and chooses to purchase one with the money. Michele then goes to a rundown store and requests a superhero suit. The merchant hands him a skin-tight overall and an ill-fitting cloak. He claims it's the costume of a Chinese superhero. Michele does not appear to like the costume, but she purchases it regardless. When Giovanna gets home from work, she sees Michele dressed up in his costume, refusing to attend the party because he feels he looks silly. She tells him he looks great and sends him to the party. Michele has a good time there and even talks to his crush Stella, but then his bullies show him a video of Stella strolling down the street. According to them, the video was discovered on Michele's phone, and he has been monitoring Stella. Michele rushes to the restroom and locks himself inside. Outside, all of his students knock on the door, pleading with him to open it. Michele is irritated and wishes he could be invisible just before the lights go out. In the following scene, he jumps out of the bathroom window and returns home. Michele awakens the next morning to his dog screaming at him. He pays him little attention and goes to the bathroom to brush his teeth. Michele is astounded to see only his robe and the brush when he looks in the mirror. In the mirror, his body is completely invisible. Michele rushes out and removes his robe. Just then, his mother enters and utterly overlooks the youngster, demonstrating that only Michele sees himself. When she begins to check around, Michele quickly writes on a piece of paper that he has left for school early and places it on the bed. Giovanna reads it and dismisses it. She contacts Michele on his phone after leaving the room. Michele, who is invisible, picks it up and tells her that he is alright. He dresses up in long-sleeved garments, unsure of what to do next. He goes to school after covering every part of his body and observes Stella from a distance. Michele then discovers his aggressor and decides to punish him for bothering him so much. He removes his clothing and comes inside the school naked and unnoticed. During class, he takes the bully's paintball gun and uses it on the teacher, causing the bully to be suspended. Then Michele goes to the girls' changing room and observes them undress. Suddenly, a towel lands on him, revealing his silhouette to all. Right then, his powers begin to wane, revealing him once more. The girls gasp as they notice Michele naked behind the towel. The following day, Michele is in his class, where a psychologist named Basili is speaking on adolescent mental health. Two of Michele's classmates have run away from home in the last month, therefore he believes it is critical to understand the minds of teenagers. Michele's hands begin to glow as he listens to the lesson, and then they vanish. Fortunately, the class is ended, and he hurries out before anyone notices him. He hurries home, covering his entire body, and finds his little sister Candela in his room. Michele directs her to proceed downstairs, facing the wall. Candela opens and closes the door to give the impression that she has departed. Michele does not turn back to look and begins to remove his garments. Candela screams in terror as he turns around, realizing her sibling is no longer visible. Michele reassures her by telling her that his costume has given him superpowers. Meanwhile, the psychiatrist Basili collaborates with Giovanna at the police station to examine the missing children. Giovanna believes the children have been kidnapped, but Basili claims they are simply being disobedient, which is common for their age. Michele is still missing when Giovanna arrives home. Giovanna answers the phone and reveals that Michele is adopted. Michele walks out of the house, astonished and hurt, to a nearby swing. Stella enters as he is swinging and believes Michele is a ghost. She appears unafraid and instead wants him to be her buddy. To communicate with her, he draws a smile on the sand. They agree to meet again. After Stella has left, Michele notices a man nearby staring at him, despite the fact that he is invisible. The man walks away with a staff, displaying his blindness. Michelle pays a visit to Stella's house at night. Stella is overjoyed to have made an invisible companion. The two kiss, but Michelle's powers begin to diminish. He flees before Stella can see his face. Later, Stella is alone in her gymnastics lesson when a needle pierces her back. It renders her unconscious. Michelle, on the other hand, has decided to tell Stella about him being the invisible boy. With his dog, he walks to her gymnastics class. When he arrives at the building, he sees a masked man with Stella. The man is attacked by Michelle, and the dog bites his hand. The man, though, escapes with the girl. The police eventually arrive on the scene. They believe the missing youngsters were kidnapped rather than abducted. Stella awakens in an odd facility, her head hooked to various wires. Basili, a psychiatrist, is questioning her. He comes out to be the one who has been abducting the children. They do certain tests on the girl and confine her in a cell. Two of her friends who went missing before her are also present. The next day, Michelle is alone at a local beach when the blind man from the day before appears in front of him. All of Michelle's inquiries are answered before he can ask them. It's as if he can read people's minds. When Michelle asks who he is, he discloses his name as Andrage and that he is Michelle's father. Andrage is not believed by the boy, who accuses him of lying. Andrage then starts telling his story. He was a normal man from a tiny town in Russia until a horrific nuclear bomb struck. The radiation killed several people and permanently altered others. It caused their DNA to alter, giving them unique superhuman skills such as flying, telepathy, and invisibility. These people were dubbed specials, and they were taken to a military camp known as the Division to be used as weapons. They were overworked by the Division. The more specialties utilized, the weaker they were. Everyone, with the exception of Andrage and Michelle's mother, was infertile. It was therefore impossible to breed fresh specialities. Michelle, the first special child, was born to the couple. But they whisked him away as soon as he was born. As a result, the parents resolved to flee with Michelle and were successful. But the Division's members were not going to back down. They pursued the couple in order to recover the child. Michelle's father has the ability to read people's minds, while his mother possessed the ability to be invisible. Andrage managed to flee with Michelle, but the Division killed his wife. Andrage knew Michelle wasn't secure with him, so after reading her mind and ensuring she was a good person, he placed him in front of Giovanna's door. The Division's residents have discovered that the unusual child lives in town. So they kidnap children and experiment on them to discover whether they are special. Michelle is taken aback after learning about his true origins. He nearly doesn't believe it, but Andrage adds they don't have much time to chat because the fisherman next to them suspects Andrage and has contacted the cops. Andrage delivers Michelle a costume that, along with his body, becomes invisible. He then erases the memory of the fisherman and departs. Basili and the police arrive shortly after. Giovanna informs him that Michelle is adopted, leading Basili to feel that he is the special child. He offers to take Michelle home with him. When they go home, Michelle finds Basili's hand injury, which is exactly where his dog bit Stella's kidnapper. He glances at the man suspiciously and attempts to flee. Basili, it turns out, has locked all the doors and is intending to kidnap him. Michelle rushes into a room and removes his clothes, becoming invisible. He manages to flee while Basili pursues him. Michelle notices his bully Ivan on his bike when they are walking down the street. He sits behind him and requests that he drive away as soon as possible. Ivan, who is nervous, agrees. When they get at a safe location, Michelle reveals himself to Ivan and tells him about their classmates' kidnapping. Stella and her companions, meantime, notice ventilation on the ceiling. Stella manages to step outdoors after they climb on each other. She climbs a tower to reach a searching light while hiding from guards. She forms a smiling face on the light and flashes it up to the sky, believing that her invisible buddy is looking for her. Michelle notices the smiling face and realizes Stella is teasing them. He and Ivan follow the light, but Stella is captured by the guards as soon as they arrive. As an invisible Michelle enters, Ivan triggers an electric malfunction with his paintball gun. He notices Basili and his men keeping an eye on Giovanna and Andrage, who have joined forces to find Michelle. He then proceeds deeper inside the building and knocks out a guard. He threatens the other guard with his gun to open the cell where Stella and the others are imprisoned. Michelle reveals himself to his pals, who are taken aback by his actions in getting them out and trapping the guards inside. The lads want to flee, but Stella demands that they save an elderly man who she saw confined in another room. She and Michelle try to save the man, but Stella instead takes him to the criminals and puts a gun at Michelle. She falls unconscious, and the old man behind her begins to speak. He finds out to have mind control abilities. He has been directing Basili and Stella in order to get Michelle here. He then brings a submarine down and places Michelle and Stella inside. The two are thrown into the sea by the men. Just then, Andrzej and Giovanna arrive and run into Ivan. The building has been programmed to explode in a matter of seconds. They rapidly rescue the two kidnapped children and Basili from inside. Andrzej reads Basili's mind and realizes that he is being controlled by someone. They flee the structure, which explodes in pieces shortly after. Michelle learns his telekinesis skill and begins destroying the submarine. Using his abilities, he kills the men and saves himself and Stella. They eventually return to the shore, where a large crowd awaits them. Michelle becomes invisible in front of them, displaying his dominance. Andrzej informs Michael that they must erase everyone's memories since the division will come after them again. Michelle obliges by kissing Stella one last time. Andrzej promises to return and departs after deleting everyone's memory. Everyone then goes back to their daily lives. The scenario shifts to a location in Russia. Michelle's mother, who had been presumed dead, was just slightly injured in the incident. She defeated the division at the time and now rules over it. In truth, she was the one who dispatched those individuals to return Michelle to her. The woman is now against all normal people who regard them as freaks. Finally, a guard informs her that, while they have lost Michelle, they have located his twin sister Natasha. Andrzej ran away with two youngsters that day, according to a flashback. The film concludes with the guard informing Michelle's mother that Natasha is somewhere in Morocco, implying a sequel. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.